Hey, everybody, it's Dominic Rubino here. How are you? This is the Profit Tool Belt podcast. We're doing it today as a live on Facebook. Kind of interesting. Trying out something new, trying out something different here as we launch 2020. I learned this from somebody who's actually become a friend of mine, Randy Brothers from the Start It, Build It, Grow It show. He does a lot of Facebook Lives, and he says his listeners really like it and enjoy it. So I'm going to give it a try. Thanks, Randy, for that. Shout out to him. If you're a roofer, you should listen to his show. And he's a smart guy, good guy. Loves sushi. There's some trivia for you. Hey, today I'm going to answer Nico. Nico, I got your email here, and I was laughing. Now, I've actually had it for a little while. Some of you would have read this in one of my newsletters. This guy named Nico. I'll read the letter, and then we can go through it. It's kind of interesting. It's nice. I'm glad that he took a chance to reach out and send me this email. It's pretty funny. And so I'm going to read it to you. And there's a lot of lessons in here for those of you wondering how to put systems in place when everything you do is different. It's a fair question, right? So I keep talking about systems, and he says, hey, how can we do systems when everything's different? So let me read you this letter from Nico. Let me take a drink here first. Here we go. My name is Nico, and I started making my dad listen to your show when we drove out to do estimates. He thinks it's pretty funny that your dad calls you Mr. Soft Hands because he knows how that translates in Italian. So for those of you who've just started listening, I have an Italian background. I was born here, but my parents are from Italy, and my dad calls me Mr. Soft Hands, which apparently Nico knows about, and Nico's dad, and they know it ain't a compliment. Anyways, it goes on. He laughed for quite a bit on that one. Everyone calls me Nico, but my real name is Domenico. So the name Dominic gets translated into a bunch of things in Italian. And so this guy gets called Nico. He goes on to say, everybody in my family is named Dominic, Frank, or Joe. Man, can I relate to that? I even have an uncle named Cheech, but I didn't know his real name was Frank until I was about 20. That's funny. That's funny. You'll know that's funny because calling somebody a chooch in Italian isn't a good thing. So I always wondered why we called my uncle Cheech, but that's just how you say Frank in my dad's dialect. So every culture has their dialects, right? Their special way of saying things. And so the short word, for some reason, in Italian for Frank is Cheech. The short word for Dominic is Dom. You would know that in North America, it's Dom, or Nick, or Nico. Believe it or not, it's Mimo. Just for me, in my dad's town, my nickname is actually Monguch. It doesn't make any sense, and I didn't grow up there, so I don't know. But anyways, we've all got these nicknames in Italian. So anyways, that's what he says here. Let me go back to this. We always wonder why we called my uncle Cheech, but that's just how you say Frank in my dad's dialect. Anyhow, my dad must like your show because he asked me to ask you about simple systems you were talking about in the other episode. I think you got under his skin. We do custom home renos in the Beltline area around Philly. Yes, we are a Flyers family. I bet you're a Canuck. Must be hard to love a team that's so hard to love. Oh, there's the shot. Anyhow, my dad wants me to ask you how we can have simple systems when we never do the same job twice because we do custom work. Everything is different every time. So he gets a little technical here. For the last couple of years, we've built a lot of ADUs. Now, this is me talking now. ADUs are accessory dwelling units. In different areas, they're called different things, right? So where I live, they're called carriage homes. Some cities call them laneway homes. Some people refer to them as tiny homes. So whatever they're called in your city, it's a big trend lately. Anyways, he goes on to say, for the last couple of years, we built a lot of ADUs, accessory dwelling units, but we also do bathroom renos and additions too. So, Mr. Soft Hands, how do we put these systems in place when every job is different? So first of all, Nico, thank you so much for sending me the email. First, it's a good laugh. I appreciate it. It's nice to know that people are out there listening and laughing as they go along. And it's awesome that you're listening with your dad. I love my dad to death, and I bet you love yours as well. Well, let me answer your question here. By the way, anybody else has a question, feel free to email me. We'll see if we can put it on the show. And if I can answer your question, that just makes me happy. So anyways, I get this question a lot. People say, Dom, how do we put systems in place where we never do the same thing? Even if we're an electrical contractor or HVAC, one's in a basement, one's in a crawl space, one's in a closet, one's in a, how do we put systems in place? Look at what's different and look at what's the same on every job. So when I'm sitting with a business owner who's all frazzled because the business is running them thin instead of the other way around, here's a few things that we do. It starts with whatever is the same at your company. Okay. So here's a couple of things that are the same in your company. And this is almost regardless of what business you're in. And the reason I talk about what's the same is because this is where you start to put systems in place. Now, you might think on some of these, why would I want a system for that? You need a system for everything I'm going to talk about here because you need a system for those things. A business is just a collection of systems that runs profitably. When I go hire you to build my ADU, my accessory dwelling unit or carriage home, I'm actually hiring you because you're bringing me a solution. You have a system for building ADUs, carriage homes. I'm going to pay you for that system, and it's your job to make a profit on it. So all of these systems we're talking about here are just lay underneath the skin of your business. When your business has systems in place for one thing, it's going to have systems in place for other things. And that's why you need to put systems in place simple, like really simple systems, where it doesn't have to be complicated. Complicated is the enemy of systems. Simple systems work the best, right? Very simple systems work the best. So here's a couple things that you can look at in your business, some areas of your business that you can start to systematize, you can start to train your people on, put systems in place so that systems sort of bleed through your culture, okay? Here's a system. Do you have a system for what time we show up to work? I know, we're laughing. Do we really need to talk about that with people? Well, any of you who've been in business for any longer than 1 week recognize, and if you've ever hired more than one employee, you recognize that you actually need to tell them what time to show up to work. And occasionally, you need to remind them that they have to show up to work on time. If you find yourself having that conversation all the time, why not put a system in place to tell them so you don't have to? And I'll get to that in a second. We need to have systems for when our breaks and break time, right? I've worked in a framing crew before where the system for letting us know, because we were across a huge job site, was a whistle. That's pretty primitive technology if you think about it. But what's your system for letting everybody on the crew know it's break time? What's your system for letting your team know that, the ones that are on the road, they're not in the shop with you or they're not on the same site? What's your system for letting the guys in the truck know it's break time and when to take breaks? What's your system for leaving this job site during breaks? What's your system for how we track hours? Where we show up to work? Do we show up first at the job site or at the shop? Or are we meeting at a bus stop where you're going to pick them up in your van and take them to the job site? Every city's got its different considerations, right? Do you have systems around the company truck? How do we take care of it? Where we get gas? How you pay for it? What's the Friday safety checklist? Now, the checklists for safety are really important because we always have a government body who's making sure that all the companies working in our city or region or town or state, province, whatever, are providing a safe workspace for our guys. So have a system in place so your team knows you're always talking about safety on a certain day at a certain time, right? That's much easier. And if a safety issue ever comes up, somebody breaks a finger, let's say, or they trip and fall on the job site, you can go back and say, well, we have a safety checklist every Friday where we talk about those things, where we remind guys you have to wear a seatbelt in the truck. Just the other day, one of the people I work with who has a millwork company, believe it or not, and this is the nightmare to somebody who runs a millwork shop, a fire broke out in the electrical panel. And one of their guys went and grabbed the fire extinguisher. And he was smart enough, by the way, to test it to make sure it wasn't spraying water before he sprayed it on the electrical panel. And so he sprayed it, was the powder, sprayed it on the electrical panel, everything was okay. But listen, you have to have those systems in place. As soon as there's a fire, the government's going to find out, they're going to come visit, you have to report it. Do you have a system in place will be the question. So have that system, right? How dispatching works. Do you have a system for how dispatching works? Now, as I'm reading through this, you might already be going, Dom, I don't have any of those systems, man. Like, you're just making more work for me. Yes, I am. But it's important. If you want to get the profits you want out of this business, I mean, this podcast is called Profit Tool Belt. I'm here to show you how to get more profits out of your construction business, out of your trades business, out of your cabinet shop, out of your steel fabrication shop, whatever it is, how to get those profits out. And these things are simple systems you need to put in place. But I'm not saying you need them all tomorrow. Just do one a week. Do one a week, and at the end of the year, you've got 52 done. One a week gets you 52 done. And if you don't get one done a week and you skip a few weeks, you get 40 done at the end of the year. That's not bad. How many do you have right now? You've got 0 by the end of this year, you would have 40. So just pick away at them one week at a time, and you'll get where you need to go. There's no secret, by the way, behind business coaching. Do you know the secret of my job is just keep going. One little change, every little meeting. We're not looking to hit home runs, singles every time. And that's how you get your company great. That's how you pull the profits out. That's how you work less and have less stress, just by picking away at things one at a time. Okay. For sure, every once in a while, we'll find some massive change. I just introduced T-Sheets, which is a time tracking system, to another contractor. It has totally changed their world in that piece of their business. They're not now, wearing big hats and smoking big cigars, but they can already see how time tracking on jobs has affected their profitability and how much they know they're profitable per job. So sometimes we do have knockout hits. Usually it's singles. So, hey, listen, do you have how dispatching works as a section and all of these things? So Nico, what I want you to do, and I'll go through a couple more of these, but shoot a video. All you got to do is get your cell phone and shoot a video of yourself saying, this is what time we show up to work. This is how breaks work. We expect you to show up at the job site every morning at this time. Our shift starts at 7. I need you to be here by 6:45. That's when we have our safety meeting. And that's important because I've committed to everybody here that they're going to go home safely to their family at the end of the day. And you're now part of the family. I want you going home safe as well. 6:45 is when you show up at the job site. 7 o'clock is when we start. I expect you to be here. Okay, that little thing I said, recorded as a video from you, put on YouTube as a private video, which you can make it private. And then when you hire a new guy, a new gal, you make them watch the video. Now the expectation is set. The system's in place. It was just you shooting one video and putting it on YouTube. Now, some of you are saying, okay, Dom, I've got a mobile phone. I can shoot a video. I think I could switch the camera so it's aiming this way, but I don't know how to upload it to YouTube. Well, ask your 12-year-old niece. She will know how to upload it to YouTube. There you go. And they'll know how to make it private and all of those things, right? Just somebody will be able to do it for you. It's not complicated. It's not expensive. Does not have to be fancy, right? Fancy and complicated is the enemy of simple systems. As a matter of fact, if you use ladders, so how many of you use ladders in your trade? If you use ladders, why not go get a video that's already on YouTube that you agree with that shows people how to use ladders? I found one the other day put together by a fire department. I mean, who's safer using ladders than a fire department? When you share that video with your team and say, this is our system for putting a ladder against a house or a building or whatever you're putting it against, this is the system. Do what the firemen do. Now you've set the expectation in your company. And when the question comes back to you, hey, I didn't know how to use the ladder, or how do I use the ladder? You say, go watch the video. We have a system for that. The system is follow the video. By the way, and some of you will know this, my pet peeve, I go a little bit crazy on this one, is how cords, cables, and hoses get coiled up. And there's a video I found on YouTube of a guy who already showed what I think is right. There's a whole bunch of systems. Choose the one you want. I don't care which one you think is right. But what I think is right when it's my crew. And when it's my crew, your cords, your hoses, and your cables get coiled up a certain way before they get put in the job site toolbox or in the truck or wherever we're going to put them, right? Because I don't want to see my guys unsafely uncoiling an air hose when they're framing a roof. That's not the place to be doing this wrong, right? Where it's a big jumbled mess where it's going to get cut or stapled or tacked or something's going to happen to it, or somebody's going to fall over it, right? There's a way, there's a system. All right, have a section, have a system for how you get ready for your day. This is how we drive in traffic. How many of you have thought of this? Our brand is on the side of the truck, the van, the trailer, the car, whatever it is. My brand, my name, my phone number. I paid to wrap that vehicle. It's $4,000 or $5,000 to wrap a vehicle. And if you go driving through traffic like a dum-dum, they're going to phone the office and say, hey, you're a dum-dum. I saw your guy driving in traffic badly, giving us the finger, yelling in a parking lot, whatever. I saw somebody yelling in the parking lot the other day. It was a disaster recovery vehicle, like fire flood guy. And I thought, I know exactly who that company is. Why is this guy yelling in a parking lot at other people? He's driving a big billboard for that company. Now, I'm not going to be his company. Oh, I hope. Fire flood disaster recovery. I hope I'm not his customer. But somebody is. So we need to have that conversation. I'm giving you the company vehicle. Here's the rules for the company vehicle. Here's how you drive. You drive courteously. You do not go over this speed limit. When you change lanes, use a turn signal. All of those things. Those are important to you as the business owner. Just make them part of your system. Nico, I'm trying to give you examples here of things that are the same in your business. We haven't talked about the ADUs, the carriage homes, the laneway homes. What we're talking about is how to put systems in place for the things that are the same. Do you have a system for showing people how to fill out timesheets so you don't have to say the same thing again and again? Do you have an expectation that timesheets need to be filled out at a certain time? That vacations need to be asked for by X date of the year? Let's say that you say to everybody, by March, we need to know your whole year's vacations, whatever day works for you, right? So that you're not suddenly surprised when somebody walks up to you on the August long weekend and says, yeah, I'm not coming back for 2 weeks. No, you got to book your time off. We've booked jobs. We've got customers waiting. We've got clients waiting. We've made promises. Those promises are related to us getting cash flow so I could pay you your salary and everybody else on the crew. That's why you need to book your vacations in advance. You can't just walk off the job site and say, I'm not coming back, right? So what are your systems for that? So have systems for the things that are consistent in your business, and shoot a video. Write a simple flow chart. Write a simple checklist, wherever it is. Now, put all of those things in one central place that everybody knows about. So use Dropbox. I'm a big fan of Google Drive because I use Gmail. There's OneDrive. There's a bunch of other shared drive services that you can set up the permissions on. It's very easy to send a link. So when you hire a new person, you've got a folder that says new hire orientation, new hire training. And in there is how we put up a ladder, how we use the company vehicle, when to show up at work, how to submit your timesheets. It's all there. And you don't have to repeat yourself every time. Once, Nico, I'm glad you and your dad are listening to the show. And it's even funnier that you know what Mr. Softhands translates into. But go in and take these simple steps. They're not complicated steps. They're just the things you need to do to get done what you want done, right? So thank you very much for checking in, everybody. This is Profit Tool Belt, and this is what we talk about here. Have a great day.